You are listening to an extended audio preview of Chaos Magick and Shamanism, written by Adam Lusum and published by LLH Media. The complete book is available from LLH Media and selected online retailers. Chapter 1: Introduction to Chaos Magick and Shamanism. Chaos Magick and Shamanism are two of the most vibrant and transformative traditions in the world of spiritual practice. They are rooted in the human desire to engage directly with the mysteries of existence, to forge a personal relationship with the sacred, and to transform both the self and the world. Though these traditions arise from different historical and cultural contexts, they share a dynamic approach to reality, one that emphasizes personal experience, adaptability, and direct engagement with the unknown. This book aims to explore the fascinating intersection of chaos magic and shamanism, offering readers both a comprehensive introduction and practical guidance for integrating these paths into their own lives. At first glance, chaos magic and shamanism might appear to be disparate systems. Chaos magic, emerging from the late 20th century Western occult revival, is often associated with postmodern philosophy, iconoclastic attitudes, and a playful experimental spirit. It is a tradition that questions all dogma, treating belief itself as a tool rather than a truth. Shamanism, on the other hand, is an ancient and global phenomenon rooted in the spiritual practices of indigenous and tribal cultures. It involves entering altered states of consciousness to access hidden realms, communicate with spirits, and bring healing and wisdom back to the community. Despite these differences, both chaos magic and shamanism share a profound respect for the power of consciousness, the mutability of reality, and the importance of personal experience. The purpose of this book is to provide a bridge between these traditions, showing how their principles can be combined to create a dynamic and effective spiritual practice for the modern world. We will explore the core concepts and practices of each tradition, examine their historical and philosophical foundations, and offer practical exercises for integrating their techniques. Whether you are an experienced practitioner or a curious newcomer, this book is designed to provide both a theoretical framework and a practical toolkit for exploring the liminal spaces where chaos magic and shamanism meet. To begin, it is important to understand what is meant by chaos magic. This tradition arose in the late 1970s and early 1980s, largely through the work of British occultists such as Peter J. Carroll and Ray Sherwin. Dissatisfied with the rigid structures and dogmas of traditional Western occultism, these pioneers sought to create a system that was flexible, pragmatic, and open-ended. Chaos magic is characterized by its rejection of fixed beliefs and its embrace of personal experimentation. It draws on a wide variety of sources, from traditional magical systems to modern psychology, quantum physics, and even pop culture. The central tenet of chaos magic is that belief is a tool, not an end in itself. Practitioners are encouraged to adopt and discard beliefs as needed, using whatever works to achieve their goals. In chaos magic, the practitioner is seen as the ultimate authority. There are no sacred texts or immutable laws, only techniques and ideas to be tested in the crucible of personal experience. This approach is both liberating and challenging. It demands self-reliance, critical thinking, and a willingness to embrace uncertainty. At its core, chaos magic is about taking responsibility for one's own reality, shaping it through intention, imagination, and action. The tools of chaos magic are as varied as its practitioners. Sigils, rituals, meditation, visualization, and even the use of fictional or pop cultural entities are all fair game. What matters is not the source of the technique, but its effectiveness in producing desired results. Shamanism, by contrast, is one of the oldest spiritual traditions in the world. It can be found in some form on every inhabited continent, from the steppes of Central Asia to the rainforests of the Amazon, from the Arctic tundra to the deserts of Australia. While the specific practices and beliefs vary widely, certain core elements are found in nearly all shamanic traditions. At the heart of shamanism is the belief that the world is alive, interconnected, and suffused with spirit. Shamans are individuals who are able to enter altered states of consciousness through drumming, dancing, fasting, or the use of entheogens in order to journey into the hidden realms of spirit. There they encounter guides, ancestors, animals, and other beings, seeking healing, guidance, and power to bring back to their communities. The role of the shaman is both personal and communal. Shamans are often called to their path through initiatory experiences, visions, illness, or encounters with the spirit world. They serve as healers, diviners, psychopomps, and mediators between the human and non-human realms. Shamanic practice is deeply rooted in the cycles of nature, the rhythms of the land, and the needs of the community. It is a tradition that values direct experience, personal revelation, and the cultivation of relationships with the more than human world. Unlike many organized religions, shamanism is not based on a fixed set of doctrines or scriptures. Instead, it is an evolving, living tradition, passed down through oral transmission, apprenticeship, and personal exploration. The intersection between chaos magic and shamanism is both obvious and subtle. Both traditions emphasize direct experience over dogma, adaptability over rigidity, and personal transformation over external authority. Both recognize the power of altered states of consciousness to access hidden aspects of reality. Both are willing to draw from a wide range of sources, adapting techniques to suit the needs of the moment. Yet there are also important differences. Chaos magic tends to be highly individualistic, focusing on personal will and experimentation, while shamanism is often embedded in community and tradition. Chaos magicians may approach spirits as psychological constructs or masks, while shamans relate to them as living beings with their own agency and wisdom. This book does not seek to collapse these differences or to claim that one tradition is superior to the other. Rather, it aims to honor the unique strengths of each path, while exploring the fertile ground where they overlap. By weaving together the insights and practices of chaos magic and shamanism, we can create a practice that is both deeply rooted and radically open, one that honors tradition while embracing innovation. To do this, we will begin by exploring the philosophical foundations of each tradition. What does it mean to say that belief is a tool? How do shamans understand the nature of reality, spirit, and healing? What are the historical roots of these practices, and how have they evolved over time? We will examine the ways in which chaos magic and shamanism challenge conventional notions of reality, identity, and power, offering alternative visions of what it means to be human. Next, we will delve into the core practices of each tradition. For chaos magic, this includes the creation and activation of sigils, the use of altered states of consciousness, the development of magical intent, and the playful adoption of different belief systems. We will explore the concept of the magical paradigm, the idea that reality can be shaped by consciously choosing and embodying different models of the world. We will also examine the role of humor, paradox, and play in chaos magic, and how these qualities can be powerful tools for transformation. For shamanism, we will explore the techniques of journeying, working with spirit allies, healing, divination, and ritual. We will discuss the importance of preparation, intention, and integration, as well as the ethical considerations involved in shamanic work. We will look at the role of the drum, the rattle, and other traditional tools, as well as the use of natural environments and sacred spaces. We will also consider the challenges and opportunities of practicing shamanism in a modern, urban context, and how to approach this work with respect for the cultures from which it originates. As we move through these explorations, we will continually return to the question of integration. How can the insights and techniques of chaos magic and shamanism be brought together in a way that is creative, respectful, and effective? What does it mean to be a practitioner in the 21st century, navigating a world that is increasingly complex, interconnected, and uncertain? How can we draw on the wisdom of ancient traditions while remaining open to new forms of knowledge and experience? One of the central themes of this book is the importance of personal experience. Both chaos magic and shamanism are traditions that value direct engagement with the mysteries of existence. They are not paths for passive observers or armchair theorists. To truly understand these traditions, it is necessary to practice, to experiment, to take risks, and to learn from both success and failure. This book is therefore designed not just as a theoretical overview, but as a practical guide. Each chapter will include exercises, meditations, and rituals that you can use to explore these traditions for yourself. Whether you are interested in healing, divination, personal transformation, or the pursuit of mystical experience, you will find tools here to support your journey. At the same time, it is important to approach these practices with humility and respect. Both chaos magic and shamanism have been subject to misunderstanding, appropriation, and distortion. Shamanism in particular has often been romanticized, or commodified in ways that dishonor its roots in indigenous cultures. As we explore these traditions, we will discuss the ethical considerations involved in adopting practices from other cultures and how to approach this work with integrity and awareness. Chaos magic, for all its irreverence and iconoclasm, also requires a deep commitment to self-honesty and responsibility. The freedom to experiment comes with the responsibility to reflect on the consequences of one's actions, both for oneself and for others. Throughout this book, we will encounter a wide range of ideas, images, and practices. Some may seem familiar, while others may challenge your assumptions or push you outside your comfort zone. This is as it should be. Both chaos magic and shamanism are traditions that thrive on the edge of the known, in the spaces between certainty and mystery. To engage with these paths is to embrace the unknown, to become comfortable with paradox, and to cultivate the ability to navigate uncertainty with curiosity and courage. One of the most exciting aspects of combining chaos magic and shamanism is the potential for creative synthesis. Chaos magic's emphasis on flexibility, experimentation, and the power of belief can invigorate shamanic practice, allowing practitioners to adapt traditional techniques to new contexts and challenges. Shamanism's deep connection to nature, spirit, and community can ground chaos magic in a sense of purpose, meaning, and ethical responsibility. Together, these traditions offer a toolkit for personal and collective transformation, one that is as relevant today as it has ever been. In the chapters that follow, we will explore a range of topics, from the philosophical underpinnings of each tradition to the nuts and bolts of practical technique. We will look at the history of chaos magic and shamanism, tracing their development and the influences that have shaped them. We will examine the role of altered states of consciousness, both as a gateway to the spirit world and as a tool for personal transformation. We will discuss the use of symbols, language, and ritual in shaping reality, and the ways in which belief can be consciously manipulated to achieve desired outcomes. We will also explore the ethical and psychological dimensions of these practices. What does it mean to work with spirits, archetypes, or energies? How can we distinguish between genuine insight and self-delusion? What are the risks and rewards of exploring altered states of consciousness, and how can we do so safely and responsibly? How can we navigate the challenges of integrating these practices into our everyday lives, relationships, and communities? Throughout, we will draw on the insights of practitioners, scholars, and teachers from both traditions, weaving together a tapestry of perspectives that is both rich and diverse. We will include case studies, personal stories, and practical exercises to bring the material to life and to support your own journey of exploration. It is my hope that this book will serve as both a map and a compass for those who wish to explore the intersection of chaos magic and shamanism. The map is not the territory, as the old saying goes, and no book can substitute for direct experience. But a good map can help you orient yourself, avoid unnecessary pitfalls, and discover new paths. A compass can help you find your own direction, even when the way is unclear. Ultimately, the path is yours to walk, and the journey is as important as the destination. As we embark on this exploration, it is worth reflecting on the broader context in which these traditions are being revived and reimagined. We live in a time of rapid change, uncertainty, and upheaval. Old certainties are crumbling, new possibilities are emerging, and the boundaries between science, spirituality, and culture are increasingly fluid. In such a world, the skills and insights offered by chaos magic and shamanism are more valuable than ever. The ability to navigate uncertainty, to adapt to changing circumstances, to draw on inner resources of creativity and resilience. These are not just spiritual skills, but essential tools for living in the modern world. Both chaos magic and shamanism offer ways of engaging with the world that are participatory, creative, and empowering. They invite us to see ourselves not as passive recipients of fate, but as active co-creators of reality. They teach us to listen to the voices of the land, the spirits, and our own inner wisdom. They remind us that the sacred is not confined to distant times or places, but is present here and now, in the midst of our everyday lives. In bringing these traditions together, we are not seeking to create a new dogma or to erase the differences that make each path unique. Rather, we are exploring a space of dialogue, experimentation, and mutual enrichment. We are asking what happens when the iconoclasm of chaos magic meets the rootedness of shamanism, when the wild creativity of the magician dances with the deep listening of the shaman. We are inviting you, the reader, to join in this dance. to bring your own questions, experiences, and insights to the table. As you read this book, I encourage you to keep an open mind and a playful spirit. Try the exercises, reflect on the ideas, and see what resonates with you. Be willing to question your assumptions, to experiment with new ways of seeing and being, and to trust your own experience. Remember that both chaos magic and shamanism are living traditions, shaped by the needs and insights of those who practice them. You are not just a passive recipient of ancient wisdom, but an active participant in its ongoing evolution. In the end, the journey into chaos magic and shamanism is a journey into the heart of mystery. It is a path of transformation, creativity, and discovery. It is a way of engaging with the world that is both ancient and utterly contemporary, rooted in tradition yet open to innovation. Whether your interest lies in healing, personal growth, mystical experience, or the pursuit of wisdom, there is something here for you. This book is an invitation to explore, to experiment, to question, and to create. It is an invitation to step beyond the boundaries of the known, to dance with chaos, to listen to the spirits, and to discover what is possible when we open ourselves to the full spectrum of human potential. The journey begins here, at the intersection of chaos magic and shamanism, on the threshold of the unknown. Welcome. Chapter 2. Historical Roots of Shamanism. Shamanism is one of humanity's oldest spiritual and healing traditions, a set of practices and beliefs that have emerged independently across continents and cultures. At its core, shamanism is concerned with the direct experience of the sacred, often facilitated by individuals known as shamans, who serve as intermediaries between the human community and the spirit world. The story of shamanism is one of both universality and diversity. It is a tapestry woven from the threads of countless societies, each adapting the core principles to their unique environmental, social, and spiritual landscapes. Understanding the historical roots of shamanism requires us to look deep into the human past, even before the advent of written language and complex societies. Archaeological evidence suggests that shamanic practices may have been present among Paleolithic hunter-gatherers. Cave paintings in places like Lascaux and Chauvet in France, dating back over 30,000 years, depict figures that are part human, part animal, sometimes interpreted as shamans engaged in transformation or journeying between worlds. These images, alongside artifacts like ritual objects and burial sites containing grave goods, hint at a worldview in which the boundaries between the material and spiritual realms were permeable and negotiable. Itself derives from the Tungusic languages of Siberia, particularly the Evenki people, and was first introduced to Western scholars by Russian explorers in the 17th century. In its original context, the term referred to a person who could enter altered states of consciousness to interact with spirits for the benefit of the community. However, the phenomenon that the word now describes is not restricted to Siberia. Variations of shamanic practice have been found among indigenous peoples of the Americas, Africa, Australia, and Asia, each with their own languages, rituals, and cosmologies. In Siberia, the homeland of the shamanic archetype, shamans have traditionally played central roles in the spiritual and social life of their communities. The classic Siberian shaman is often depicted as a mediator between the visible world and the invisible realms inhabited by spirits of nature, ancestors, and deities. The shaman's journey, frequently induced by drumming, chanting, fasting, or the use of psychoactive plants, is undertaken to seek guidance, healing, or to restore balance. The paraphernalia of Siberian shamans, drums, costumes adorned with metal and animal motifs, and ritual staffs, serve not only as tools, but as symbols of their power and status. Moving eastward, shamanic practices have been integral to the cultures of the indigenous peoples of the Americas. Among the Inuit of the Arctic, the Angakuk is a figure much like the Siberian shaman, responsible for healing, divination, and communication with animal spirits. In the Amazon basin, tribes such as the Shipibo Kanibo and the Yanomami employ shamans who use visionary plants like ayahuasca to enter trance states, diagnose illness, and negotiate with spirits. The Native American Plains tribes have developed their own forms of shamanism, often centered around the vision quest, sweat lodge ceremonies, and the use of sacred herbs like tobacco and peyote. In Africa, shamanic traditions are equally diverse and deeply embedded in cultural life. The Sangoma of southern Africa, for example, are healers and diviners who use trance, ancestral communication, and herbal medicine to address both physical and spiritual ailments. Their initiation often involves prolonged periods of illness or crisis, interpreted as a calling from the ancestors. In West Africa, the Yoruba tradition includes the Babalawo, a priest-diviner who communicates with the Orisha spirits through complex systems of divination, such as Ifa. Though the terminology and cosmology differ, the underlying principles, spirit communication, healing, and the navigation of unseen realms, remain strikingly similar. Australia's Aboriginal peoples possess some of the world's oldest continuous spiritual traditions, with shamanic elements woven into their dreamtime beliefs. The clever men, clever women of various Aboriginal groups are recognized as individuals with special powers, able to heal, find lost objects, or travel in spirit to distant places. Their practices are deeply entwined with the land and the stories of creation that define Aboriginal cosmology. Initiation into shamanic roles is often accompanied by visions, dreams, or extraordinary feats, marking the transition from ordinary member of the community to one who walks between worlds. In Asia, shamanic practices have played significant roles in the spiritual life of Mongolian, Korean, and Southeast Asian peoples. Mongolian shamans known as Bu are famous for their elaborate costumes, ecstatic drumming, and the invocation of powerful spirits called ongod. Their rituals are intended to maintain harmony between humans, nature, and the spirit world, especially in a landscape as harsh and unpredictable as the Mongolian steppe. The Mudang, often women, perform rituals called gut, which involve music, dance, and offerings to spirits for healing, blessing, or exorcism. Despite centuries of Buddhist and Confucian influence, shamanism remains a vital force in Korean culture, blending ancient practices with newer religious ideas. The evolution of shamanism cannot be separated from the environments in which it developed. Hunter-gatherer societies, dependent on the cycles of nature for survival, often saw the world as alive with spirits. The shaman's role was to mediate between the human and non-human realms, ensuring successful hunts, favorable weather, and the well-being of the tribe. As societies became more complex and hierarchical, shamanic practices were sometimes marginalized or absorbed into emerging religious systems. In some cases, such as in Central Asia and Siberia, shamanism persisted alongside Buddhism and Islam, adapting its symbols and rituals to fit new religious landscapes. One of the central features of shamanism is the concept of the shamanic journey, a spiritual voyage undertaken in an altered state of consciousness. This journey, whether induced by rhythmic drumming, dancing, fasting, or psychoactive substances, allows the shaman to access hidden realms, communicate with spirits, and return with knowledge or power for the benefit of the community. The journey is often described as a descent into the underworld, an ascent to the heavens, or a flight across cosmic landscapes. Across cultures, the symbolism of the journey is remarkably consistent: a movement between worlds, a confrontation with danger or death, and a return bearing gifts of healing or wisdom. The altered states associated with shamanic practice have been the subject of much speculation and study. Anthropologists, psychologists, and neuroscientists have sought to understand the mechanisms by which shamans enter trance and the effects these experiences have on the brain and body. Some have argued that shamanic trance is a form of dissociation, a psychological state in which the normal boundaries of self and reality become fluid. Others have emphasized the social and cultural dimensions of trance, noting that the shaman's performance is often a communal event, involving music, dance, and collective participation. The use of psychoactive plants such as the peyote cactus in North America, ayahuasca in South America, and fly agaric mushrooms in Siberia has also been a focus of research, revealing complex relationships between biology, culture, and consciousness. Despite the diversity of shamanic traditions, certain themes recur across time and space. One is the idea of initiation, a transformative process by which an ordinary person becomes a shaman. This initiation often involves a crisis, illness, or visionary experience, interpreted as a calling from the spirits. The prospective shaman may undergo symbolic death and rebirth, receiving instruction from spirit teachers and acquiring new powers. The ordeal serves both as a test and as a means of acquiring the authority necessary to serve the community. In many cultures, shamans are marked by distinctive clothing, tattoos, or other signs of their status, signaling their special relationship with the spirit world. Another common theme is the use of ritual objects and symbols. The shaman's drum, for example, is not merely a musical instrument, but a vehicle for journeying, a horse or boat that carries the shaman to other realms. Costumes adorned with feathers, animal skins, or metal objects serve to transform the shaman's identity, allowing them to take on the attributes of powerful spirits. Masks, rattles, staffs, and amulets are also common, each imbued with symbolic meaning and spiritual power. The ritual space itself is often carefully prepared, marked by fire, stones, or sacred images, creating a liminal zone where ordinary reality is suspended. The shaman's relationship with spirits is central to their role. Spirits may be conceived as ancestors, animal allies, nature beings, or deities, each with their own personalities, powers, and demands. The shaman must learn to navigate these relationships, negotiating alliances, offering gifts, and sometimes engaging in battles or trickery. The ability to communicate with spirits is both a gift and a responsibility, requiring skill, courage, and ethical discernment. In many societies, shamans are also expected to maintain personal purity, abstaining from certain foods, behaviors, or sexual activities in order to preserve their power. Shamanism is not static. It evolves in response to changing cultural, social, and environmental conditions. In some regions, shamanic practices have persisted relatively unchanged for centuries, while in others they have been suppressed, transformed, or syncretized with new religious movements. The arrival of missionaries, colonial administrators, and modern states has often led to the persecution or marginalization of shamans, who are sometimes accused of witchcraft or superstition. Yet shamanism has also demonstrated remarkable resilience, adapting to new realities and finding new expressions in contemporary contexts. The cultural significance of shamanism extends beyond its spiritual and healing functions. Shamans often serve as keepers of oral tradition, storytellers, artists, and musicians. Their rituals are occasions for communal gathering, celebration, and the reaffirmation of social bonds. In many societies, shamanic cosmology provides a framework for understanding disease, misfortune, and the mysteries of life and death. The shaman's ability to move between worlds is a metaphor for creativity, transformation, and the exploration of the unknown. In recent decades, there has been a renewed interest in shamanism, both among indigenous peoples seeking to reclaim their heritage, and among outsiders drawn to its promise of direct spiritual experience. Anthropologists and ethnographers have worked to document shamanic traditions before they disappear, while psychologists and therapists have explored their potential for healing trauma and fostering personal growth. The so-called neo-shamanic movement, which emerged in the late 20th century, draws on the practices and philosophies of traditional shamanism, adapting them to the needs and values of modern seekers. This revival has been both celebrated for its creativity and criticized for its potential to appropriate or misrepresent indigenous knowledge. To appreciate the historical roots of shamanism, it is important to recognize both its universality and its particularity. The universal elements, trance, journeying, spirit communication, healing, speak to deep human needs and capacities. The particular forms, rituals, symbols, cosmologies, reflect the unique histories and environments of each culture. Shamanism is not a single tradition, but a family of related practices, each shaped by the interplay of tradition, innovation, and adaptation. The origins of shamanism are ultimately lost in the mists of prehistory, but its legacy endures. In a world increasingly dominated by rationalism and materialism, the shamanic vision offers an alternative, a way of seeing the world as alive, interconnected, and full of mystery. The shaman's journey, both literal and symbolic, invites us to explore the boundaries of consciousness, to heal the wounds of body and soul, and to remember our place in the web of life. As we trace the historical roots of shamanism, we learn of continuity and change, of transmission and transformation. From the caves of Paleolithic Europe to the rainforests of the Amazon, from the tundra of Siberia to the deserts of Australia, shamanic practices have shaped and been shaped by the peoples who have carried them forward. Their stories remind us that the search for meaning, connection, and healing is as old as humanity itself. The enduring presence of shamanism in the modern world is a testament to its power and relevance. Whether practiced in remote villages or urban centers, in traditional forms or new adaptations, shamanism continues to inspire, challenge, and transform. Its historical roots run deep, nourished by the wisdom and creativity of countless generations. By exploring these roots, we gain not only a deeper understanding of shamanism, but also of ourselves, our history, our imagination, and our capacity for wonder. The examination of shamanism's historical roots reveals not just a shared set of practices, but a way of being in the world. In the shamanic worldview, everything is alive, interconnected, and responsive. Mountains, rivers, animals, plants, ancestors, and even the elements are seen as possessing consciousness and agency. The shaman's role is to maintain balance and harmony, to heal breaches, and to facilitate communication between realms. This orientation stands in contrast to more dualistic or hierarchical religious systems, which often separate the sacred from the profane, or humanity from nature. The shaman's worldview is profoundly relational. Illness, misfortune, or social discord are not merely personal problems but disturbances in the web of relationships that bind humans to each other and to the non-human world. Healing, therefore, is not simply a matter of fixing a broken body or mind, but of restoring harmony at multiple levels. The shaman acts as a diplomat, negotiator, and sometimes a warrior, navigating the complex terrain of relationships among spirits, ancestors, animals, and the living community. This relational approach is reflected in shamanic cosmologies, which often feature a multi-layered universe. Many traditions speak of an upper world, a middle world, and a lower world, each inhabited by different kinds of beings and accessible through specific rituals or techniques. The shaman's journey involves moving between these worlds, acquiring knowledge, retrieving lost souls, or confronting hostile forces. The symbolic geography of shamanism, the world tree, the river of souls, the mountain or cave as axis mundi, recurs across cultures, testifying to the deep psychological and imaginative resonance of these images. The historical evolution of shamanism has been shaped by processes of contact, exchange, and adaptation. In Central Asia, for example, the spread of Buddhism and later Islam led to the transformation of shamanic practices, as elements of older traditions were incorporated into new religious frameworks. In some cases, shamans became marginalized or demonized. In others, they were integrated as healers, diviners, or ritual specialists. In parts of Africa and the Americas, colonialism and missionary activity led to the suppression of shamanic practices, sometimes driving them underground or forcing them to adapt to new social and political realities. Yet shamanism has also influenced and been influenced by other spiritual traditions. Elements of shamanic practice can be found in Taoism, with its emphasis on meditation, spirit journeying, and alchemical transformation. The figure of the Nakpa, or tantric practitioner, bears similarities to the shaman, especially in the use of ritual implements, trance states, and spirit communication. In Christianity, especially in its folk forms, echoes of shamanic healing, exorcism, and visionary experience can be discerned. The persistence of shamanism in the face of suppression and change speaks to its adaptability and its deep resonance with human experience. In times of crisis, uncertainty, or transition, the shaman's skills are often in demand. Epidemics, wars, natural disasters, and social upheaval have historically been times when shamans are called upon to restore balance and offer guidance. Their ability to navigate uncertainty, to mediate between worlds, and to provide meaning in the face of suffering has ensured their continued relevance. In the modern era, shamanism has undergone further transformation, interacting with scientific, psychological, and therapeutic paradigms. The core shamanism developed by Michael Harner and others seeks to distill universal elements of shamanic practice, making them accessible to people outside traditional cultures. This approach emphasizes the shamanic journey, the use of drumming or other monotonous sound, and the cultivation of relationships with helping spirits. Critics argue that such approaches risk oversimplifying or appropriating indigenous knowledge, while proponents see them as a way to reconnect with lost dimensions of experience. At the same time, indigenous peoples around the world are engaged in efforts to revitalize and protect their shamanic traditions. In the Amazon, for instance, shamans have become central figures in movements for environmental protection and cultural survival, advocating for the rights of their peoples and the preservation of their sacred landscapes. In Siberia, Mongolia, and elsewhere, shamanic organizations have formed to promote education, research, and the transmission of traditional knowledge. These efforts are not only about preserving rituals, but about asserting identity, sovereignty, and the value of alternative ways of knowing. The historical roots of shamanism thus reveal a tradition that is both ancient and dynamic. Its forms and meanings have shifted across time and space, shaped by the interplay of continuity and innovation, tradition and change. At its heart, shamanism is a response to the fundamental questions of human existence. How do we relate to the world around us? How do we heal suffering and restore balance? How do we find meaning in the face of mystery and uncertainty? The study of shamanism's historical roots invites us to reconsider our own assumptions about spirituality, healing, and the nature of reality. It challenges the boundaries between science and religion, between the rational and the mysterious, between the individual and the collective. In the shaman's journey, we find a metaphor for the human quest for knowledge, transformation, and connection. In summary, the historical roots of shamanism stretch back to the dawn of humanity, encompassing a vast array of cultures, practices, and beliefs. From the earliest cave paintings to contemporary urban rituals, shamanism has persisted as a vital force in human life. Its core elements, the shamanic journey, altered states of consciousness, spirit communication, healing, and initiation, reflect universal human capacities and needs. At the same time, its diverse expressions testify to the creativity and adaptability of human cultures. The enduring appeal of shamanism lies in its capacity to address the mysteries of existence, to heal the wounds of body and soul, and to connect us with the larger web of life. As we explore its historical roots, we are reminded that the search for meaning, connection, and transformation is as old as humanity itself, and that the shaman's path remains open to those who seek to walk between worlds. Chapter 3: The Emergence of Chaos Magic. In the waning decades of the 20th century, a new current of Western esotericism began to coalesce. It was a movement characterized by its irreverence, its pragmatism, and its adaptability, a movement that would come to be known as Chaos Magic. The emergence of Chaos Magic was not a sudden or isolated event. Rather, it was the culmination of a series of shifts in magical theory, practice, and culture that had been brewing for decades. Its birth was shaped by the intellectual ferment of the post-war era, the countercultural explosions of the 1960s and 1970s, and the growing influence of postmodern thought. To trace its development is to trace the way in which Western occultism came to terms with the uncertainties and possibilities of the modern world. The roots of chaos magic extend back into the rich soil of Western occult traditions, but its branches grew in distinctly new directions. Throughout the 19th and early 20th centuries, magical practice in the West was dominated by elaborate systems and secret societies. The Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn, the Theosophical Society, and later Aleister Crowley's Ordo Templi Orientis all offered initiatory structures, complex rituals, and vast symbolic maps of reality. These organizations provided a sense of order and hierarchy, laying out the path to magical attainment in precise, often labyrinthine detail. You have been listening to an extended preview of Chaos Magic and Shamanism. To continue reading, visit the LLH Media Store or the book's Amazon listing.